Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Dearest readers, it appears the charming hills of Dripping Springs are not only home to scenic vistas and scandalous good barbecue, but also to a most delightful pair who have taken to the airwaves with a flair that even I must admire. Allow me to introduce Mr. Steve Mallett, known by some as the Runner, though that's Wait. I totally did that. Though what exactly he's running from remains deliciously unclear. Perhaps it's small town gossip. Perhaps it's his co-host. And speaking of her, enter Miss Michelle, whose passport stamps outnumber her pairs of shoes and who considers out of office not just a status, but a lifestyle. With one foot on a beach and the other on a mimosa, she brings vacation vibes even to the most mundane Mondays. Together, they are unlikely irresistible duo behind Mallett and Michelle on Dripping Springs. So, the reason why I'm reading it like this.
I have no idea why you're reading it like that, but go right ahead and explain, please.
There is a new Facebook. I don't even know it's new.
Is it a group?
I have just discovered it. Let me just say, I have just discovered it. And the reason why I discovered it is because people think I am her. And
her as in the lady from Bridgerton, the narrator?
It's called Lady Bluebonnet Whistledown.
Oh,
and
this is the name of the Facebook group?
It's a Facebook page, and it's this person that I guess people send her stories or gossip within her DMs. And she, in Lady Whistledown voice, she will narrate it. And basically she's uncovered or revealed swingers in Horseshoe Bay, a cheating pastor, baseball shenanigans. I don't know. It's the craziest thing.
And they think it's you.
Somebody has, a couple of people have thought it was me because...
that sounds like something you do, Michelle.
I don't have that time.
I hope that they're researching this to make sure it's at least plausible, if not real, that these things are happening.
No, it's not. It is not me. And actually, there's a TikTok about it, and we think it started like in Marble Falls, Horseshoe Bay. It's somebody in Horseshoe Bay or Spicewood because... apparently, she will name these streets where all these swinger activities are going on.
Wow. Can't you just let people live their lives and let them do what they want to do?
That's exactly what a swinger would say.
without outing them about their lifestyle?
I know.
Do you. It's okay. You want to have a pineapple on your front porch? I do not care.
It is kind of strange that people are regurgitating this kind of gossip like on... I don't know. It's weird.
I know. It's a lot different than sitting like in a hair salon 40 years ago and telling two of your friends that somebody down the street is a swinger versus putting it on Facebook with thousands of people that follow that?
Yeah. It is.
Scary.
I am not Lady Bluebonnet Whistledown.
Okay.
But maybe,
you heard it here first. She is not Lady Bluebonnet Whistleblower whatever.
But I have reached out to her through DM and asked anonymously if she would like to be on the podcast.
Ooh.
So here's a public call. Again, if she would like, we won't show your face.
We can let you wear one of those like bank robber masks with the little eye holes in the mouth hole, and you could just sit in here and nobody will know.
Or like a paper bag or whatever.
Yeah.
But so we need to talk about who our guest is going to be today.
Well, I want to thank our sponsors first.
Well, I guess we do need to thank our sponsors, don't we? Jovi Belterra.
Yes, they are living their best life there. If you are 55 and up, that's the place you want to live in Dripping Springs. South Star Bank.
They give free money away.
They give free money, yes. They will lend it to you with interest, but they're really good over there. And Mallett Integrity Team.
Who are those people?
Yeah, they're just killing it right now.
They are killing it. They're drowning.
Yeah, boy, we have a lot going on, don't we? It's all good. I told somebody the other day we're working 5 times as hard as we used to and making the same amount of money. But at least we're making money because I know a lot of people in this business that aren't even making any money right now. Our guest today, Juana Searcy, she is a contractor, female contractor, which is a rarity. She does remodels. Her company's called Plum Project. She lives right here in Dripping Springs. She's got a couple of other nonprofits that she helps out with, and she's going to come in and visit with us here in a little bit.
I'm excited to visit with her.
I'm kind of digging my radio voice right now, too. I sound good, don't I?
Okay.
Hey, you've got some DS news, Miss Whistlebottom, whatever your name is?
Whistlebottom. That's pretty funny. Miss Whistlebottom. That's pretty funny. Well, to go with the theme of Miss Whistlebottom, that's what my name would be, Miss Whistlebottom. The Dripping Springs High School baseball team, they are advancing to the state finals. Very excited about that. We had one of the pitchers, Cooper Rummel, on. And they are going to be facing Kingwood, the 6A semifinals. I think by the time this airs, it will already have happened. But Coach Payne, this is the first time, the baseball coach, is the first time in 27 years that the Dripping Springs High School baseball team is playing at this level. And Coach Payne has been the coach for 19 years as the head coach of Dripping Springs. So congratulations to those young men. They actually had an early graduation. They couldn't walk, and so they had a private baseball graduation for these kids, which I thought was pretty cool, especially for the moms. Also in Dripping Springs news, the Dripping Springs High School theater kids brought home state in theatrical design. We have some pretty talented kids here. Absolutely.
Standing ovation for that.
Absolutely.
Very well done, kids.
But it's that time of the year where we're starting to get some kind of wonky spring Texas weather, right? And we've had a lot of transplants. We've talked about this before. This past Monday, Memorial Day, there was a funnel cloud that was spotted between Blanco and Henley. It never touched down. It didn't touch down. The last time something touched down, it was an EF0 tornado, which is like the lowest score. And it was March of 2007, and it only traveled about 50 yards. That was it. And it was on the ground in DS proper. I don't know exactly where on the ground.
I remember that. The kids were in school. We were all freaked out because they had them all out in the halls, I think, kind of bunkered down for that. It was a tornado watch, I guess, which is the worst one.
Well, no. So funny you should say that, because I'm going to go through the tornado watch, tornado warning, and tornado emergency, because I started seeing all this misinformation online when they were seeing this funnel cloud. So tornado watch. The conditions are favorable for tornadoes to develop. The ingredients for a tornado are in place. Stay alert. It could happen, right? Tornado warning. A tornado has been sighted or one has detected on radar. You know, like when you look at the radar, Todd, my husband, taught me this. There's like a little hook. And when you see the hook, you're like, you're going to take cover immediately, interior room with no windows. A tornado is happening or about to happen. Get safe now. Now, I didn't even realize there was this other one over here, the tornado emergency. That means a large, violent tornado is confirmed and headed for a populated area. Ooh. It's rare and it is life-threatening. It's the worst case scenario you can have, and active is as if your life depended on it, because it just might be.
And those probably only happen you have probably 5 minutes to react when you get that. That's not one of those things you're sitting there watching TV and you go, oh, let's get the kids wrapped up here in a couple minutes. That probably means it's on the way. It's like right on your doorstep. It is. And where my daughter lives up in North Dallas, they've been in the closet several times. And you know what she does now? When are they coming out of the closet? When they're coming out of the closet, when the tornado warning has stopped, they are putting Navy, my granddaughter, in the car seat when they get in the closet. Oh, that's smart. But then, of course, her husband, she was FaceTiming me. He had no shirt on and no shoes on. So I was like, okay. The other thing, do you know that it has been 10 years since the horrific Memorial Day flood that happened in Has it already been 10 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Time is flying by. The older I get, the faster time goes by.
Well, it decimated those beautiful cypress trees that were all up and down.
Destroyed dozens of homes down there in Wimberley.
And loss of life.
Loss of life. Yep.
I mean, weather around here is very unpredictable, but just, stay alert.
It's scary too. When you first move here, you go through one of those thunderstorms where the thunder and the lightning doesn't stop for an hour, and it just feels like it's centered over your house and it's pouring rain. it's a little unnerving until you've gone through a couple of them and you go, oh, it's just Texas thunderstorm. That's what happens.
It's the hail that really is the most damaging, I think. That sucks.
Yeah, you're right. Have you sold anything on Facebook Marketplace recently?
Have I? I bought something off Facebook Marketplace 2 weeks ago.
How did that go?
Ago.
Was it a successful purchase? Your money didn't get stolen?
No, because I'm not an idiot. I don't send money before I actually see the stuff.
Okay, well, good. So here's something that will surprise you. An estimated 70% of the posts on Facebook Marketplace now are scams.
I believe it.
70%.
I believe it. And if you try to sell something on Facebook, you get all these little scammers.
Yep. And that was the other thing is most of the people reaching out to you are trying to get you to sell them money or whatever, vice versa.
They'll put this $3,000 Crate and Barrel couch on. Oh, I've never used it. We got it, and it was the wrong color. And Venmo me half of the money, and I'll hold it.
The most common things that people fall for are puppies. So,
puppies!
Yeah.
I'd fall for that.
Puppies and monkeys for you.
Puppies and monkeys.
Yeah, puppies, tools, and stolen credit card information. So they're just trying to get you to send them your credit card information. And what ends up happening is these people pretend to be legitimate businesses that you can go Google and find, this store exists, and they pretend to be that store. You send us your credit card information, we'll send you this $1,000 saw for $3.99 or whatever. They get your credit card information, and then they use that to buy a bunch of other stuff before you catch it and shut down your credit card. They have this article that I read. There's this business, I can't remember what state it's in, but he gets dozens of calls a month from people that are all pissed off because they gave somebody their credit card information to get some tool, and it never showed up, and nothing ever got followed up with, and they call him and chew him out, and he says, we don't even sell online.
Yeah, that's
Not
crazy.
only am I not on Facebook Marketplace, the only way you can buy something from me is to come in my store and buy it. So the reason I thought this was important is I think there's a lot of our listeners out there that probably do look on Facebook Marketplace for stuff. Yeah, and so I think you need to be very, very aware and don't trust anybody out there that's trying to get money from you. Most of these scams originate in China, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, and the Philippines. So these people are not even in the United States that are putting these posts on there, like whatever it is, Dripping Springs Marketplace. or whatever.
I tried it.
They're not even local people.
Dripping Springs garage sale. I've sold a lot of stuff off of that, and you know what? I don't know if I would do this now, but when it first started, I would say, okay, if they were buying a dress, I'd say, just leave $5 under the mat.
Yeah.
And they'd leave. And if I had several things, I would have all these bags, and I would this is for Nancy, this is for Mary, this is for
But the thing about that is it's $5. It's not going to change your life. It's a cup of coffee. Not going to change your life one way or the other. But if you're sending somebody $1,000.
No, yeah. Well, I had this lady, she bought a whole bag of my clothes. And I think you remember one time you said I was a meth dealer. Yeah. Remember I was people were picking stuff up.
Yeah.
And wasn't a meth dealer. It was my rompers. And so she bought it all and she took it. And then she called me and she goes, a couple of them don't fit. Could I have a refund? I'm like, I'm not a store.
No, yeah.
I'm not a
you
store.
Bought it. You pass it down or go take it to Goodwill.
But a friend of mine just posted that her brother lost $10,000 on Facebook. It was a fake car, and he paid.
That's a perfect example.
PayPal. I think he PayPal'd them the $10,000.
That's a perfect example.
And he was older.
You'll never get that money back, and that's the way they get you. So they show a car that's worth maybe $16,000, and they go, "Hey, bargain! I got to sell this today. It's $10,000." So it's not like they're selling it for $399. They get you sucked in, and then they say all the right things. So this article, they reached out to Meta to get a comment on this, and Meta says they're addressing it. But they also said recently in court that this is not their responsibility to police Facebook Marketplace. So not only is Meta really not doing anything about it, it's like the wild, wild west out there. So it's buyer beware on Facebook.
Do you remember when all you had to worry about on Craigslist was Craigslist killers? And now
No. You know what? Holly and I were talking about that the other day. You couldn't do a Craigslist right now. It would instantly be filled up with scammers and be worthless. The moment you launched it, you would have to spend millions.
Craigslist is still around.
Well, it's still around, but it's just full of scammers. scammers. The point is, you would have to spend the majority of the money that you could create from that on policing it and trying to get rid of the scammers, which would be it'd be like swatting mosquitoes in your flooded backyard. You're never going to get on top of that.
I would think. I'm looking at let's look at cars. But the last time I was on Craigslist, it's all like dealerships putting their cars on there. It's no longer like, Joe Blow down the street trying to sell his Ford F-350.
Just be cautious. I think the last thing I sold on there was a washer and a dryer that was in one of our rentals. And it was the same thing. I got like 10 people reached out to me that were just scammers. And then I finally sold it to some guy that brought me cash. I met him. So
puppies.
Yeah.
Puppies for sure. So also with the season, weather and scammers, pool safety.
Yeah.
I have a pool. There was a pretty prominent social media influencer. She highlighted her family and she had a pool cover, and unfortunately, I think he was 3 or 4 years old. He drowned. She was out with friends, and her husband was there. It's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, accidents happen. It's a horrific accident. But, having a pool and now having little ones around the house again, it's really making us try to think how to be safer. We do have gates coming out to the pool, and we'll probably get like these little double locks up on our doors.
I think that's smart.
But you cannot watch kids 100% of the time. I mean,
you and I have talked about it before. Colin, who the nonprofit Colin's Hope was named after, drowned like 7 feet from a lifeguard at a public pool. Yeah, I mean, it can happen so fast, so quickly. Even if you're watching, you look away for 10 seconds, a child can drown. So you can't be vigilant enough. So
here's some tips. Not all of the tips, but just some tips. So we talked about it earlier about the physical barriers. So it's either fencing. They now make alarms to where if somebody has fallen in and it detects motion in the water. Safety covers. The alarms worry me a little bit because my pool is kind of further out, and I don't know if maybe there's an app or something, and if you're not by your phone, that's kind of weird. Number one, do your dogs go in the pool? They dip their leg, but you know what? When we first got them, we would put them in the pool and make them swim to get out. So we taught them. I'm wondering if your alarm would just go off all the time because the dogs are in there. And they don't gallivant in there. They fall in because they've been messing around, on accident. But supervision for sure. Never ever swim alone. That's the one thing. I get that on my husband all the time when he has been working in the yard and he gets in the pool. And I'm like, nobody is around. Yeah. Just at least tell somebody you're in the pool. So this even goes for adults. Have a designated water watcher. Never, ever, especially when there's children around, never leave children unsupervised in there. So if you were in there with a group of friends, just have somebody that you trust, just kind of keeping an eye on the kiddos and enforce the rules. I'm sorry, but there are some rules. The pool area and maintenance, you got to make sure that you remove the hazards kind of around the pool, just inspect your pool. Also, make sure it's clean. That's just like I've been to people's pools before, and you're like, green is not a pool color. Yeah, somebody could fall in and be at the bottom, and you can't. It's not a pool color. Actually, our pool that we used to have when we lived in Shady Hollow, when we first got it, it always had this shade of green to it, and the chemicals were perfect. We figured out that the lights were on, and it was stuck on green. It made it look like our pool was green. It was kind of weird. Pool equipment and safety. So make sure you have pool saving equipment, especially if your pool is deep. You need to have a life ring, a rescue hook, but more than anything, a first aid kit. You need to have something like that. And maybe take a CPR class. Maybe, I wouldn't say maybe, take a CPR class. You need to store those chemicals far away from where kids are able to get in there. And then here's something that I didn't understand. Also, this is like from a horror movie and like hot tubs, and especially like in hotel pools because they're older. You need or make sure they have something called an anti-entrapment cover. It's a safety drain to prevent suction. This used to be a big deal. Well, like your hair, could get stuck down there. Used to be when there were just, especially in a hot tub, they have one central drain. Used to be in pools, they had one central drain, and all of the water that was sucked out through the pumps came through that pump. And so kids would get, like, they'd sit on it,
and they would get stuck to it.
Guilty. We played Tea Party down there.
Yeah. So now all new pools have to have 2 drains. So if you sit on one, then the suction on the other one, it allows you, it doesn't suck you to it. It evens out the air balance. So it's scary. It's the thought your whatever 6-year-old kid that's a pretty good swimmer goes down to the bottom of the pool, is playing with their friends, sits on the drain because it's the only thing at the bottom of the pool, and then they can't get out.
My
That's
grandmother
scary.
tried to get me to wear a swimming cap because when my hair was long when I was little, because she was worried about it, and so she carried around scissors.
Oh, in case she had to jive into the pool to say, wow.
Yeah. So additional tips, obviously we just talked about it. Learn CPR. If you have a pool, you need to know CPR. Pay attention to the weather, lightning storms and whatnot, and then diving precautions. My pool is not that deep, and when we have kids over, they want to dive or jump in, or adults that have had way too many cocktails would like to.
I'll tell you, that happens more often than you know. I knew somebody in California that dove into a pool and broke his neck and was in a wheelchair. Quadriplegic. So, it does happen. Well, I think it's a sad day in America. The U.S. government has just announced that they are phasing out the penny. And I wanted to give you my 2 cents about that.
Are they really?
Yeah.
They're phasing it out?
They're phasing it out.
So they're just not going to be making it anymore?
They're not. And so in a couple of years, another thing will happen that will make us feel old again. You won't be able to say things like, find a penny, pick it up all day long. You'll have good luck. A penny saved is a penny earned. That won't make sense anymore.
If you pick up a penny, is it on tails or heads? Are you weird about what?
I don't care about that. I'm just picking it up.
It has to be on heads for me. If it's tails, I won't pick it up.
How about worth every penny?
Worth every penny.
And my favorite, a penny for your thoughts, $5 if they're dirty. But so the U.S. government has announced that next year in 2026, they're going to take pennies out of circulation. So what's going to happen is they're not going to be putting new pennies into circulation, and they'll be removing the pennies as they come into the mint because they're worn or old or whatever. And then eventually you will not be able to pay with a penny. So what's going to happen is you go into your coffee shop and your coffee is like $12.96 now. They're not going to give you 4 pennies back. They're going to round it up to $13. If you pay electronically, it will be that you'll still be charged.
Oh, to hail to the no, they're not rounding mine up.
They're going to round it up. Yeah. It will be rounded. I take that back. So if it's $12.96, it will be $12.95. Because it'll go down. If it's $12.98, it will go up to $13.
So they get 3 extra cents eventually.
That's right.
I don't agree with this. And you know what? You didn't mention one of the most important ones is sticking a penny. You don't do this. Sticking a penny on the railroad track and watching it smush.
Yes, that will be a thing of the past. You'll have to use nickels going forward.
Nickels.
So it's been Congress has actually passed it. It's been a bipartisan effort, and Trump has supported this since his first administration, and it was actually first suggested by Obama. So if anybody says, "Oh, Trump's destroying the world because he's doing away with the penny," it's been talked about for a long time. The U.S. Mint estimates it's going to save them $56 million a year. Not having pennies, not printing pennies. And you know how much it costs to make a penny worth 1 cent?
What?
14 cents.
Okay, are you saying that we should start stockpiling pennies now because they're going to be worth more than a penny?
Don't you already? Here's another stat that'll blow your mind. Americans throw away $68 million in coins every year. And
I thought I did that in vegetables.
16% of the circulated coins right now are in jars or cans in people's houses, and it's estimated to be $14 billion in coffee cans and jars in people's houses. You know how you get a pocket full of change and you just throw it?
Yeah.
I got a great big coffee can almost filled to the brim with quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies. Yeah. So,
have you ever taken it over to Coinstar or whatever? And
no, you know what? It's funny. You know what my coin jar is? Is like if I lose everything, I'll still have this $208 worth of pennies and quarters and nickels. I'll be able to. But anyway,
there's your barter.
Yeah. So the first penny was minted in 1972. So next year in 2026, we'll
1872?
1792.
Oh, I thought you said
wrong?
1972.
No, 1792. So
I was like, I was
233.
two.
Yeah. you were two. 233-year-old Penny is resting in peace next year.
I have some old pennies. I have some
Do you?
really, really old pennies.
I bet I've got some in my jar. I don't even have any idea how much I have in my jar, but it's got to be probably a couple $100.
I'm going to be rich.
You're going to be rich.
There's my new business plan. I'm going to just
You're
collect.
going to hoard pennies.
Yeah, I'm going to be a penny hoarder.
Yeah, when we do our runs, whenever somebody finds money, we say two things. One, oh, you're buying breakfast, and oh, look, I'm a professional athlete. I get paid to run. So we find money all the time on our runs, probably almost every run downtown.
You know, just to kind of piggyback on that, somebody put on Facebook, the Dripping Springs Neighbors page, whoever did not turn in my $1,200 in cash that I lost at the, I guess at the Dripping Springs little gas station right over
Really?
here. Like,
What?
they dropped it and they're mad because that's probably the worst place to drop cash
First of all,
in all of Dripping Springs.
Well, I was going to say, first of all, why are you carrying around cash and being so cavalier with it? Like, if I had $1,200 in cash, I would know where it was at every minute. It would be exactly where I wanted it all the time.
I bet you still have $100 bill sitting in your wallet
I do.
that you never use.
I have a $100 bill. It's also if I lose everything,
my
I will
walking
still
around
have
with
this $100 bill. So I can go buy myself a sleeping bag, go sleep on a park bench downtown.
Yeah, you good luck with that sleeping bag.
Yeah. So, well, hey, let's take a little break and get Juana Searcy in here, who owns a company called Plum Project. So hang on, sit tight. We'll be right back. South Star Bank has remained true to its Texas roots for over 100 years. A commitment to the people and communities they serve, along with flexible financial solutions, allow their clients to shine. Mortgage loans, checking accounts, or complete business solutions. South Star Bank is your financial partner. South Star Bank, trusted by professionals, backed by tradition, built for Texas.
SouthStarBank.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender. NMLS 410624. Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. This vibrant 55 and up community is located in Dripping Springs, just right outside of Austin. 1- and 2-bedroom homes, resort-style amenities, and just steps away from shops and restaurants. Forget the yard work. This is your time to relax, make new friends, and enjoy the life you've dreamed of. Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. Live JoviBelterra.com. 737-387-6870.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com. And now here's Steve and Michelle.
And we're back with Juana Searcy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. We always start out by asking our guest, how did you end up in Dripping Springs, Texas?
Oh, gosh. That's a long time ago. I've been here about 34 years. I moved
crazy.
here from Houston. I grew up in Pearland, which is now not so small, but it used to be small. Moved here with a small, my first real career job, which was really not that much, but I got paid like nothing. But they transferred me here and they paid for it. And I went, deal. So
To the Austin area or to the Drip area?
I moved to the Dripping area, but the office was in Austin. So.
It was like a Super S kind of Dairy Queen
You were
town
here.
back then.
Yeah, I was
Super S
there when
the
it was
thing.
a lot less. Yeah.
And what drew you out here? What was...
Well, to be honest, I looked around in Austin because I'd always loved Austin growing up. And, I looked for the kind of houses I wanted to get. I was pretty young at the time. I think I was 22.
Wait, let me do the math.
Yeah, I'm 112. I looked around and basically I thought, oh, that's a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
back then Houston was a lot less expensive to live. It's actually kind of caught up to Austin to some extent. But anyway, then I found out I could move to Dripping Springs at that time and build a small custom home and pay a third or less of what we paid in Austin.
$30 a square foot.
It was a lot less. Let me just say it was a good investment. When I sold it, it was
Are you
pretty
in
good.
the same house now?
No.
okay.
I've moved several times. We were in Belterra for a few years, and hey, Belterra. And then I actually live in downtown Dripping now. I have 2 acres in downtown, so it's kind of weird.
Nice.
What part of downtown?
Kind of back behind Railroad Barbecue.
Really? Okay. Yeah. That's a nice little area. I live in downtown Dripping too, but kind of by Time and Doe.
If anybody wants Steve address,
do not give my address. Do not do it.
Just not gonna do it.
Just that little warning sign mean anything up there?
Oh, your battery's it says you low battery. Is that
Sorry, I was trying to
laptop?
find a way to point at it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, thank you very much.
You know why? Because he steals my plug.
Now it's all
This is
coming
my
out.
power cord. Yeah.
So, Juana, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Pearland, which
you did?
is
Okay.
it's just south east of Houston.
Okay.
And it was a real beautiful little town, small town, kind of like Dripping a little bit before Dripping kind of exploded. It was also very small and hometown and that kind of thing.
Okay.
You knew a lot of people by name, that kind of thing. And now it's huge. It's massive. So that's changed a lot.
Do you still have family there?
I do. I have one sister who lives there. I have two nieces that live there, and I think that's everybody. So I'm the youngest of five. So.
Are you the youngest of five?
I am.
But when you go back, are you like, do you still identify? Does it still feel like home to you? Or
I have to say I've been gone long enough that it really doesn't. I miss certain things about it, but there's a lot of things I don't miss about it. So
Yeah.
if you're from Houston, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not from Houston, but I know Houston.
Yes.
I'm a Texan.
Every time I go to Houston, I can't wait to leave.
Right?
When you get to like the outskirts of Katy, you're like, holy hell, this is.
When you come towards Houston and you get to about Katy, all of a sudden you have to accelerate by, some percentage to not get run over.
Yeah. And then it's brake lights and people swerving. Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? It's like, keep honking, I'm reloading.
Yeah, and it's 8 lanes wide.
It's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
And so you had a corporate job, and then at some point you started Plum Projects.
Yeah, I actually took a job with a company called First American. They actually split at some point, and I worked for CoreLogic. Now, you guys are in real estate. You may have heard of First American or CoreLogic, probably.
Yeah.
And I was with them for 20 years, just a couple of months shy of 20 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
So interesting story of sorts. It was sad, but it was also an opportunity. So I'm the youngest of five. My parents were the age of my friends' grandparents. And I had gone to visit them in Houston, and it was clear to me that they were at the point where they really couldn't live alone anymore. And my dad was dying, and it was just too much for my mom. And so we moved them to Austin, to Dripping, to live with us in Belterra. So it was great because our son was really small then, and I think he was like 5 at that point. And it was kind of great in a way because he kind of got to see the circle of life. He got to spend time with his grandparents. They got to know him, and it was really wonderful. So my dad actually did pass away, which was expected. And my mom, who was physically very healthy, and I thought she'd be around a long time because her mom was like 98 when she passed. So she developed something called vascular dementia. And what happened was it got to the point where I had to pretty much be around 24/7 for her. And I grew up, not that this is interesting, but I grew up in a pretty poor family. So they didn't have any money. They didn't have any means. In fact, I've supported them financially since I was in my 20s because I was fortunate enough to get a really good paying job and I could do it. So I did that. And so when they moved in with us, my dad passed, and then my mom was doing great. And then she developed vascular dementia, and, I had to quit. So I dropped out of my career of 20 years, which was hard. But it was the only choice I had.
To care for her. What is vascular dementia?
So it presents a lot like Alzheimer's does, but it's basically when you have what's called AFib, which is where the second one of your valves beats a little bit too late. The second beat is a little too late. It's delayed long enough that you can form clots in the heart. And when you do and it throws one, it will basically kill a part of your brain, just like a stroke does. But it affects your frontal lobe, and so you over time lose a lot of your memory, certainly your short-term memory, some of your long-term memory, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So I quit and was taking care of her, and I was trying to figure out, well, maybe I could do a little hustle on the side. Like I was thinking about making homemade dog food or something. I don't know. And when she passed, which was a lot sooner than we thought it would be, unfortunately, I'm like, well, now what am I going to do now? I don't have a clue. I don't really want to go back to corporate. I've worked my whole life, a lot of hours, a lot of travel. And I thought, I've always wanted to consider starting up a company. And I thought, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. So my first plan was to start up this company, but to do it just to do handiwork stuff, just like finished carpentry handiwork. I grew up around construction my whole life. Different capacities. My My brother was a electrical engineer. He designed offshore oil platforms. My other brother was a master electrician licensed in all 50 states. So he was just licensing out his license towards his end of life. And then I helped build several homes. I have, myself decorated, remodeled multiple homes I've had. And so I knew a little bit about a lot of things, right? And I thought, well, maybe I'll do that, and that'll be, grocery money, and I'll figure out what I want to do. Give me some time. Well, I guess at that point, and it's like 10 years ago, we were really underserved back then. And I guess I kind of was in the right place at the right time because I don't want to say exploded, but it got to where everybody wanted more and more and more. Yeah. And then it was remodeling, and there was, I had people say, can you build us a house? I mean, it was just,
wow.
What I found was if you go do something for someone here in this community and you do a good job,
yep.
they see that you're a good person, and I try to be.
They're loyal. They
become loyal, and they trust you. And that's a huge part of it, because there's so many people out there calling themselves either general contractors or contractors, and they either steal their money or they don't show up or they do crappy work or who knows. I hear all the stories.
This community is really big on referrals.
Yes.
Like, hey, I had this great experience with Juana. You need to talk to her. And they will be very vocal about that.
Yeah.
So that is a big plus for our community. We don't have like somebody just going to a Yellow Pages or Googling contractor.
They want to talk to someone who's worked with you, which I do too. I mean, we're all that way.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part you think when you first started your business? Because you kind of knew the hands-on aspect of it, but then there's the business of doing business, right?
Right. Well, my background is partially in business development. So I'm used to starting up large companies and creating new products and bringing companies together and, licensing this piece and using this core, strength or whatever. So I knew how to do it on a larger scale, but I'd never done it on this much smaller scale. So I had that part. It's funny, the things I thought would be hard weren't, and the things I thought would be easy weren't. So it kind of threw me a little, but you learn a lot, right? Every day you learn something. And the hardest part I would say in the beginning was finding and vetting really good subs. Out here, as you guys know, there's not a lot of housing that a lot of the subs can afford. So if you've got to have them drive a long way, you pay extra for that. I mean, it just adds to the cost. And also just finding out which ones were reliable and trustworthy and, all of those things. And I've worked with the people I work with, most of them for almost 10 years. I mean, it's more than 5 almost. And I'm most of their business at this point. So I feel like there's, a lot of mutual respect there. It's funny, when I first got started, it was less common to see women as a general contractor. And so you definitely got a little bit of the good old boy, who do you think you are?
I was going to ask you.
I got a lot of that attitude in the beginning.
How did you deal with that? Because contracting has typically been a male-dominated business. Exactly. How did you deal with that when you
I think I just had to prove myself to the ones I did work with. And, there's some that no matter what you do, they're gonna have an attitude about it. But, for the most part, I think most people are good. And a lot of them are like, well, crap, you really do know what you're talking about. So I think just with time and having a relationship, and they kind of learned what I'm capable of. I guess that's how I've won most of them over. So now I've got great subs. I have good relationships. I vet them out, so I only get the people who do really good stuff, good communication. They show up, they make it right. If there is some sort of a small mistake, that's what I want to represent. Yeah. And part of my company that I try to present is that we are a turnkey solution. So the idea would be you make one phone call to one. You have one point of contact. Well, technically 2, but one point of contact, and you don't have to figure out all the pieces. We help you from the initial concept to the initial, if you need interior design, we have that. If you need engineering, structural engineering, architecture, all that, we bring all that to the equation, and we go through, all the pieces all the way to the end, and then we do a make ready clean. So you're ready to move into your beautiful new area. So I feel like that is helpful, because when you're a homeowner and you're busy and you work and you got kids, and it's a lot, and you really don't want to have to jack with all that.
I'm with you. Yeah. Is that what you mentioned in your bio, that you have a different approach? Is that what it is, where it's a turnkey solution?
It is. And also I think I bring some of the skill sets from corporate, hopefully not the obnoxious ones, but I try to bring good communication. I'm really big on that. I'm also really good on say what whatever you say you're going to do it, follow through always. Yeah. And own mistakes if you make one. And the main thing is, how do you deal with your mistakes, right? And I try to get those fixed right away. And that's all you can do if you make a mistake is, own it and say, let's make that right for you.
Actually, a couple of my really good friends are contractors and custom builders.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have one of those customers that seems like no matter what you do, you can't make it right? How do you deal with those?
Oh boy, a lot of drinking. It's hard. Part of my background too is I think I'm a pretty good negotiator of sorts. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm good at
Mediator?
mediator. Find the
Yeah.
middle ground. See what's important to them. Sometimes you'll learn through the process that they've been burned at some point, and you start kind of getting a sense of that, and it helps you to better manage the relationship if you know kind of where they've come from and what's happened and what they're sensitive to, what they like, what they don't like. And everybody's different, honestly. And, everybody talks about, there's a lot of contractors and stuff out there that are bad and you got to avoid them. And all that's very true because I hear all the worst stories, unfortunately, from it. I feel so bad when I'm the second or third person to do their project because someone left with their money or they didn't know what they were doing or fill in the blank. But there's also, the shoe can be on the other foot, and we have some interesting clients from time to time, and I won't name names. So you can put that $20 bill away. It's not going to happen. But, you have some interesting moments for sure.
Being in real estate right now, I've been with Steve for about 10 years now in this business, and, we've seen these like really high highs and kind of, low lows. And I'm sure that you're experiencing that, or you have experienced that as well. But I feel like there's more and more people that are choosing to stay in their homes now because interest rates are high and they're like, I got that 2.7, I ain't going nowhere.
Yes, I see
so
that
are
a lot.
you seeing that where they're like, okay, this wasn't my forever home, but I'm going to try to make this work? So
we do see that. And another example of that, one of the only good things that came out of COVID was we had a booming, few years. It was our biggest years ever. But then backed up to that, we had one of our worst years ever because right now the economy is not, I think, where everybody wants it to be. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I know you guys probably see a lot of this from
we are
where
seeing
you're
it.
sitting.
Yep.
It's hot and cold.
It is. It is hot and cold. And I think, there's been quite a few layoffs at government level jobs. I think people are a little uncertain right now, and I think we're uncertain. We all hold on to our wallets a little tighter. So I think, we've not been extremely busy, but, I'm going to have to start doing marketing, which I've never had to do before in 10 years. So that's weird. But it is what it is. So we'll continue to try to, keep things going. And I'm hoping that the market improves and, people are in a better position.
I think it will. I feel like if we're not at the bottom, we're very close to the bottom as far as it's not going to get worse than this is what I feel. How about permits? Are you helping people get their permits here in mostly Dripping Springs?
Actually, I do probably half my business in Dripping. It used to be all Dripping, then a small percentage in Austin, and it just shifted to where with the referrals and all of that, we get a lot of repeat business, which is amazing, and we get a lot of referrals. Like I said, I don't really have to market usually, knock on wood. So that's been great. But yeah, we've done a larger, I'd say we still do the majority absolutely in this area.
What's harder, Austin or Drip?
Austin sucks because
Thank you. I'm
sorry,
glad you
Austin,
said it.
but it's obviously the commute time, all that adds to your time and cost. But their permitting really sucks. It is apparently one of the worst.
Is it worse than Lakeway? I heard Lakeway's pretty bad,
It's actually worse
too.
than Lakeway, but Lakeway's more temperamental. It's kind of hard to explain. They're a little more, I imagine, a gunslinger with a lot of attitude coming at you when you do your inspections.
That's really the thing I've heard about Austin is it was really, really bad. And you thought it couldn't get any worse, and it got worse. And then you thought, God, this is terrible, and it got worse. And then it kept getting worse. It's like, and now you may know probably, there are companies that all they do is help contractors and builders get permits.
That's
their whole
and
job.
I've been using them. I found that out, a couple of years in, and I've been using them ever since.
Yeah,
and
so
it's
a whole
helps
industry
a lot.
came out of navigating through the
exactly
bureaucracy.
because it is that hard. It's worth it to pay a little extra money to not have to deal with
But
that.
if you're in a ETJ like I am, so your permitting process, like I did my whole remodel and I didn't pull one permit.
You don't have to build, you don't have to have a building permit. In
I didn't even
ETJ,
have to get
right?
a permit for my pool.
Right. There is a certain section of Austin that you can look it up, I think, in Google Maps, and it'll show you a boundary. But if you're not within that main, like, for example, Belterra's Austin address doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Right? All the people off of Sawyer Ranch, right? All of that,
That's
none of
where we
that
are.
applies. So you don't have to get an Austin
Shady
permit.
Hollow either. I think we were in Shady Hollow, so we didn't have to have permits out there. It's the Wild Wild West over there.
Yeah. And it's only the immediate kind of area that's within the permitting
The
range.
crazy zone.
Yes. And so the good news out here is we generally don't have to. But, I mean, all that said, We do in Austin, obviously, with almost no exceptions. And, we do everything to code anyway. So it's not that it's a problem. It's just the time and the hassle. And it depends on which, inspector you draw. That one I've had them drive by, not even go in the house and sign off on stuff. I've had other ones go, well, since you touched this one outlet, we want you to redo the entire electrical panel with arc fault protected breakers. And it's thousands of dollars. And it's, so it just depends. It really does. And it really hurts the homeowner more than anybody. I can handle the irritation, but I hate it when they add to their ticket.
Where are the bodies buried?
Exactly. Right.
That's maddening to me because it should be very consistent. What about price increases or, the uncertainty around materials right now? How are you dealing with that?
Well, that was the other part of when you asked kind of what's behind the slowdown. There has been a lot of, I'll tell you that in our industry, a lot of people they're maybe a little calmer than they were a few weeks back, but they're still very nervous about
the tariffs.
What's going on with the tariffs, not only how it's going to affect cost, because the reality is, as you guys can appreciate, we can cost ourselves out of, it is what it is, but then many people are going to pay it, and they don't always appreciate that. So even though it was weird in COVID, they really didn't seem to care.
Well, when the lumber was like insane, like we had like a bunch of lumber back behind our storage shed, and I was like, we could be millionaires, and not even know it right
exactly.
now.
That little 2x4 is worth $7,000.
That's right. Scrape the dirt off.
Do you do smaller projects as well?
We still do. Well, here's the thing: handiwork. It's easy to lose your hat. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. So I don't like to do a ton of it, but the reality is in our market out here, we don't have good people. Well, no offense. There's a few out there. There are a few out there that are very good.
We totally agree because we have a hard time finding, if we get a good handy person, then they get so
somebody
successful.
That will do the jobs that are $1,000, $1,500, replacing a couple doors or something like that. Those people, we will use them for like 2 months and then if they're good, they get so busy. Yeah. We just had a guy that we helped him get his business started from the ground. And a couple months ago, we had a listing and we asked him to do some work. He said, I can get to you in 6 months. I'm like, that will not work. We're listing this house in 2 weeks.
Right.
So, but it's this constant, if they're good, they stay in the business, but they get so busy. And if they're bad, they go away. So
I don't know if they go away when they're bad. Unfortunately, I hear that people don't always get wind of, because people will say nice things, but they're very loath, understandably, to say bad things. Yeah. And I have seen some floating around that are very young and very new. And some of them are good, but some aren't. And it hurts me when I see, on Facebook, they'll post, somebody's looking for this or that, and they'll post and you see 25 of their 20-year-old friends. Yeah. And I'm like, here we go.
What is the thing that people are doing most right now, if you're seeing?
I think bathrooms and kitchens are pretty standard.
Still, yeah,
pretty much. And then there's, I think right now while people are still kind of a little nervous about funds, we do a lot of finished carpentry. Like they'll go, well, let's go ahead and change out our doors and our trim or whatever, or new floors.
So are you taking down shiplap versus in COVID you were slapping shiplap everywhere?
It's all cyclical. What goes out now will be back in a few months. So you never know. It's funny to watch the costs rise and drop for the products that are popular, just like with countertops.
Yeah.
We just listed a house that has dark cabinets in the kitchen, and Michelle and I went in there. I was like, "Oh, it's got dark cabinets." She goes, "They're coming back." I'm like, "Oh, great!
Yeah,
we don't have to do anything.
We're
getting
people to. Yeah, we're actually having more people recently wanting us to build stain grade cabinets. I was like, "You sure? Okay."
Yeah, and that's what I did. I had a kitchen leak, and we had white. Oh God, what is it? Shaker cabinets. And I just went to stained cabinets again, which was kind of funny. But I want to know about you mentioned in your bio, you're a foster failure farm, which that is fascinating because earlier in our monologue, we were talking about on Facebook, and Steve said how Facebook Marketplace, how someone would get me is if they were trying to sell puppies.
Puppies and monkeys.
Yeah, puppies and monkeys. So, do you have any puppies or monkeys?
I don't have monkeys yet. Stay tuned.
Here's my money. Take it, guys.
If you get a monkey, I will come help you with this monkey, okay?
I'm a huge animal lover, and I would adopt them all if I could. I'm one of those people. But then I'd have to go to divorce.
Divorce court.
Yeah. So we've kind of tapped out right now, but we have 3 rescue dogs, 2 rescue cats, and then we just rescued a feral cat named Mouse, who's adorable. Aww. We finally caught him and got him fixed, and now he basically all but lets us pick him up. Like, he's super lovey and he's great.
My husband says that I ask for forgiveness versus permission when I bring animals home.
If you can get them home, you're in. That's kind of my take. You just got to get them in the door.
Actually, I had one for a week, and he was on a business trip, and I didn't tell him. And so Judy, the receptionist, it was her fault. Yeah, her daughter. Her daughter gave it to me.
That's going to go over well.
When I finally told him right before he was coming home, and I said, "So I got a puppy. She's a Maltese, and I've had Malteses." And he goes, "Oh, Michelle, you just don't ever listen to me." And I was like, "I know." And he was so mad at me. Was that how it goes at your house?
Oh yeah, kind of. We're both pretty much animal lovers, but. Yeah, I my wife is like, I can't leave town because I'm afraid I'm gonna come back to a bathtub full of otters and an emu and and honestly, I can't. It could happen. Like
if
it could
you also
happen.
have a bathtub full of otters, you better call me.
Right? Oh, too funny. No, we rescued the ones I mentioned and a cow named Charlie.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, she was a rescue.
Is this before or after you lived in Belterra?
This was after. That would have been tough. Yeah, so although they have chickens in Belterra, which always surprised me.
You just don't tell people, I guess.
Oh, you hear them. You can hear them going off in the morning. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I thought that was really interesting. And then we have 2 goats, and I know they're mother and son. And we have a pig named Wednesday.
Oh my gosh.
She's a very big girl, but she is the sweetest animal I've ever had. She is just a gentle soul.
This is on your property here in Dripping?
Yeah.
Wow.
We have an exemption. We're zoned agriculture, I think, or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Livestock. I'm not sure.
Huh.
But yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Jeez. Yeah. The other thing you mentioned in your bio was you do gun classes?
Oh, yeah. I want to hear about this.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of women in the area that have never used firearms who really want to learn how. And I don't know if it's sort of the climate of the political climate right now. I'm not sure. But for the first time, they feel like they would like to learn how to do that. And of course, I'm big on if you're going to do it, know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I grew up with guns. My brothers and father were all sportsmen. You know, I hunted with them. We went fishing, the whole thing. So I grew up from a pretty young age with gun safety just, drilled in. And I actually have my own. So that will surprise some people since I'm a Democrat. But there's a lot of Democrats that own guns, believe it or not. And they've been wanting to learn. And so I was trying to put together a training class, but they wanted it to be a woman instructor. Well, there's only one woman, I think one, maybe 2 now, in all of the Austin greater area that does that. Huh. So it was a real challenge to get them signed up and make it work. So I thought about it. You know what? I think I'm just going to take the classes and become certified. So I've just started that. So I'm hopefully very soon will be fully certified.
And this is to get your concealed?
No, I don't have all that.
This is gun
so
safety.
So I'm a gun instructor.
Oh, okay.
I teach other people.
I want to hear about when you finally do this because I have taken classes from men before and I think that it's very difficult. My hand strength is not very strong. Right. And so it's really hard for me
to rack the gun.
Really hard. My husband got me a really small SIG, which I can't find right now. We're going to...
Don't say that
on the air. That
doesn't
inspire confidence.
Yeah, please don't say that. Todd just called. He found it.
No, I
You're
think
going to need my class.
It's at my son-in-law's. It was in our safe. And we were like, who has mom's SIG? We were like...
I have $1 for every time I've heard that. Yeah. No, but when I get certified, then I was thinking about as a little side hustle, maybe offering up classes out here. So
that would be amazing. I would love to be able to participate in that.
I will. I'll keep you
because I think that just coming from a female is a lot different. Just the way we carry ourselves, the way
how we think,
we hold
about it.
Yeah, and I do have a very healthy fear of it. I grew up around guns as well. My stepdad was a CIA agent. I mean, he would take me out shooting all the time, but just now it's just not, I don't know. I'm not as comfortable as I feel like I should be. And I'm also older.
And you want to be very comfortable.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not as good to have one because you don't feel that relief or that sense of safety or comfort.
Even when I carry it, it's like, okay, I carry it. Todd used to say, what are you going to do? You're going to throw the box of bullets at them and then
really
throw the
hard.
gun?
I take Holly to the range sometimes, and she loves shooting. The thing that gets her is the noise. She just really struggles with the noise.
Well, I'll tell you, one thing I recommend, I think women especially love this, is I have headphones that have a built-in mic so I can talk to the other person I'm there with, and it cuts out when there's a lot of noise, and it cuts in when you're speaking. So you can talk to each other, but not have the,
okay.
So it's better than having them on and nobody being able to understand each other.
So is that like a Bluetooth microphone that has noise canceling?
Yeah. And so it's really cool. It blocks out the loud noise, so it's very muffled.
Yeah.
But when you speak, it cuts back on so you can hear each other.
Maybe I need one of those for work when Steve's
You don't need that. You just ignore me, Michelle. She's really good at it. Hang on, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Okay. I turned music on, and the other day I had some music on. He was like, Michelle, can you please change it to 80s rock or something? This music is putting me to sleep. And I looked over him. I said, this is my Do Not Murder You music. Just leave me alone.
Very important.
She picked that because I was having a rough day, and it was probably she probably needed it. So.
Oh, that's great.
The other thing you do in your spare time, which doesn't sound like you have a lot.
Spare time.
You started this nonprofit called Pride of Dripping Springs.
Yeah, so Pride of Dripping Springs, we've been around for several years, and every June we do a big festival. So if you've never gone, highly recommend it. It's very family friendly. The YMCA is one of our biggest supporters, and we have a lot of activities and things for kids, and they love it. It's always a hit. And then we have an evening show where it's adults. It's 21 and up, and it's a lot of fun. Though I'll tell you, we've had people come to us and say, our little town here, we put together a festival that is better than the Austin Pride organization's festivals. Yeah, so we've really hit the mark here. I mean, we have aerial burlesque. We have some amazing performers that we get. And and it's all for a good cause. I mean, we started this group because it was really important to me. Excuse me, to create an environment in this community so that, the tweens and teens that realize, they may not be like everyone else, that they don't feel like they're alone on an island. Because, I was that kid at one time. Sure. And, it's a horrible feeling. And, there's a lot of naysayers out here that, are kind of hateful about it. And you read a lot about, what's going on in the schools and all the big, brouhaha about, these parents wanting to kind of stomp it out, And what really breaks my heart about that is there's a certain number of those parents, they're going to find out at some point, they have someone in their family that they love that is, could be their kid, could be whoever, but those kids are hearing that, and I feel like all of us, no matter what our situation is, I don't think any of us can afford to lose any more kids.
No, it's
at a 3 times higher rate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we talked about that on the show.
Yeah, So the cool thing is some of the money we raise every year, we do scholarships. So this year we did, it was a $2,000 scholarship, and anybody can apply. And the kid that won it was so super excited. And the really cool thing is the person who specifically donated the money for that scholarship in total, it wasn't even the monies we raised. She did it in the memory of a girl who went to high school here who took her life. And it was because of a lot of bullying. And she wanted to do something in memory of her. And so, again, the whole point of our group is to just try to make this community a little bit nicer, a little bit gentler, and accepting of everyone.
Do you find that Dripping Springs, like through the years of when you started this group, that the acceptance has kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit just with the climate?
The political climate kind of affects that. I think some people become emboldened to be kind of bigger haters than they might be otherwise, and that's unfortunate. We have a lot of bullying. You know, I was talking about that earlier. Yeah. Social media, unfortunately,
sucks.
It does, and there's a lot of that. But and the thing is, when the city hall passed this is making proclamation making June Pride Month in Dripping Springs, which I got to say after I picked my mouth up off the floor, I was so surprised that's when we decided to start this up. And, honestly, we're not, like I said in the speech that day, I said, we're not coming in here to wear banana hammocks and boas and march down your street. So please calm down. We're not doing that.
Well, that's the biggest misconception,
I think. It is. And they have these especially people who've not spent any time around queer people, they just have this huge idea of what that is. And it's usually so off the mark, at least here. I mean, if you go to San Francisco Pride, you might see a little of that, but that's not what we're here for. We're really here. I do it specifically myself for the kids. There's, like it or lump it, there's a whole lot of tweens and teens that are figuring out who they are, and they're going to figure that out over time. But if they feel like, this resonates with them, I'm not out to, as I say, we're not to convert people, trust me. We're not about that. We're just here to be supportive of you, whoever you are. And we have a whole lot of straight people that come out to our events. They bring their kids. They're very supportive because we all have somebody in our life, who isn't straight, and we love them. And, that's really what this is about, is let's be a more accepting community. It's not going to hurt us to be more open.
Sometimes people hesitate to go to something like that because there is a small part of that population of the just normal people, but that feel like they're going to say the wrong thing and hurt somebody's feelings.
Oh gosh. Well, that's nice if that's the case. I mean, we're pretty thick-skinned. I mean, we've kind of seen it all. I know I have.
This is we're talking about social media, and if you're conservative, then your social media and terrible. It's filled with people that they're in a restaurant and somebody said the wrong exact word, and then all of a sudden they go on this rant about how that.
I know what you're talking about.
And so that makes some people go, "Gosh, I don't want to do that."
Right.
So,
well, I will tell you that all of my political leanings and my background and all the things I've told you about myself, I get very irritated with what I call being too woke.
Well, it's people that live in the wings on either side. Right. You're living up here. Yeah. I don't agree with any of that.
And the reality is most of us are somewhere dead center of the street.
Absolutely.
Right? And we're not on these, and I don't think there's a need to do that. All that does is make us more hateful to each other and more separated. And, there's no value in that. To me, the biggest thing is this is our community. I have a ton of friends. I would say they're probably maybe 60% Democrat, 40% Republican, somewhere. I haven't done a recent count. And that includes you too, Scott. You know you are.
Let's do a poll.
All right. And I feel like, we're all good people.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a few that aren't, but most of us are really good people, and we all have a lot in common. So let's stop focusing on what we have that's different, because there's so much more that brings us together than divides us. And that's what a community is.
That's right.
Because I'm one of those people you can call at 3 a.m. and say, my house is flooding. What do I do? Help. And I'm there. I mean, we all do these things because we love our town.
I think some people have really truly lost the ability to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And I have always said, look, my beliefs are based on my life experiences, and I'm not all the way over to the right, and I'm not all the way to the left. Sure. I'm not even all the way in the middle. I feel like I'm able to have a conversation with somebody and say, you know what? I never thought about it that way. Yeah. You're right. And I'm hoping that somebody would sit down with me and I explained my situation and they're like, you know what? I've never thought about that. And I feel like nowadays, media or whatever it is, we are so divisive, or in media. But when you're at Flores or you're at Backspin having a drink, who gives a shit?
Exactly. We all put our pants on, one leg at a time. And I don't know. I feel like
Steve puts his on twice at the same time.
I just jump in mine. I have a little stand I put them in, and I just...
It's like potato sack races. He's in.
Yeah. Well, I'm following up on that. This cancel culture thing, which is... And I hate it. I hate it too. On both sides, on any level. It's not good.
It's obnoxious.
Where somebody says something or does something, and then there's a whole movement to try and get them... And sometimes it is destroyed, not just like, hey, there's a little black flag on that person. This is like, we've got to wipe them off the face of the planet.
No,
it happens across the spectrum.
What was it, the Red Scare? I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I'm not like that, and I have a problem with that. And I tell my son sometimes, he's 20 years old and goes to college, I'm like, yeah, there's a thing called being too woke, in my opinion. I'm all about being open and mindful and aware and sensitive, and I think we all can do that. Like you said, worrying about what they say. The reality is, I'm just happy you showed up. I don't care if you use terminology from the 50s. I mean, you're there, and that matters a lot. And you're here to help raise money for scholarships and make our teens feel welcome, and adults too.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me. It doesn't matter that we're from very, very different places. Because that's what makes us great out here, right? I mean, the more diversity you have, the stronger the community.
Yeah. I also think that, and I don't know how long it's been, but we used to kind of enjoy sitting with people with different beliefs and opinions.
I love that.
And hearing that, because when I am with somebody that has a different political belief and they are friendly and open with me, and inevitably I leave that conversation and I go, gosh, I never thought of that. That's very insightful.
And that's such a gift to be able to understand more about the view that you don't get.
That's exactly right.
And
that's how you learn and grow.
Right, exactly. And it may not mean that you're ever going to agree with that person, but now I get where they're coming from.
Yeah, 100%.
Some people I just will never get. But, it's like my friend Scott. And Scott, don't worry, I'm not going to give out your home address until the end. Scott. We could not be more different in most ways, but we started this friendship. We connected a long time ago, and And he tells me almost every time we go to lunch every several weeks, and he goes, you just baffle me. I'm like, why is that? And he goes, because I just kind of had you all figured out. And then when I met you, I'm like, yeah, I'm not in the box that everybody tries to neatly put everybody in. And you're not either. And we have a lot of common ground. Mm-hmm. And so
and
he and
respect for each other.
Yes. And he and I can have political discussions because we're both civil people.
Yeah.
We're both, it's not
so
about
refreshing.
being argumentative.
The other part of that is, like, sometimes I'm fairly conservative, but I have this conservative idea, and sure, I can run that by somebody else that's conservative, and they'll just nod their head, yes, 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 yes.
Right.
But if I really want to flesh that out, I want to run it by somebody that has a different point of view and have them poke holes in it. Because that's what makes
smart.
that makes me go, gosh, is this really a core belief that I have?
Or am I falling into the same party line?
Yeah.
And we all do it. I mean, it's so ingrained in everything we see and do, unfortunately. But,
I want to ask you, where's your safe space that you go to in your mind when you're faced with
I know where it is. It's Ghost Sniper on PS5.
No. When you are trying to when you're faced with like kind of public criticism, when the chatter's out there in social media world and you're hearing all this misinformation, like where are you going to?
It's funny because I had someone ask me the other day, actually, is my friend Scott. Scott, you're the topic of the whole thing.
We're going to say the title of this is not Scott.
Damn it, Scott.
Not
it's going to be Damn it, Scott. But, honestly, he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I realized he was saying, with the election and everything, are you okay? And he goes, I know a lot of people are upset. I'm like, dude, I've been through a lot of shit in my life, excuse my French, and I'm okay. This too shall pass.
It doesn't define me.
I wasn't happy with the last administration. I'm also not happy with this one, maybe a little more so. But I'm not upset. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not crying in the corner.
I think that's huge. There's so many people that they get stuck in that, right? And then it starts to define everything about them and how they make decisions in their life. Yep. And really, Michelle and I talk about this all the time. You live in Dripping Springs, Texas. Yeah. You're surrounded by wonderful people. Yes, some of that stuff will trickle down to us, in the cost of materials and things like that. But in the overall way we run our lives every day and what we do, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's not that big a deal.
Yeah. So, I'm not overly woke. If someone wants to be, that's their deal. But
you don't buy into it.
Because it's not about politics to me. It's about the person. And like I said, I'm the only Democrat in my family, I believe. So, I'm used to but needing to be able to meet in the middle and talk about things.
I have this group of friends that they're my boys in Dallas, my boys, and they're all named Steve, by the way.
Great.
It's not Scott.
Great.
They're all named
not
Steve.
Scott,
no,
but
Scott.
Steve.
And they love to just harass me, but it's like good, clean, fun is all it is.
That's how it should be.
I love these men with my whole soul.
I love that. That's great.
We have the best time. I go up to Dallas. I've been to some amazing bars in Dallas, and I'm just the little blonde up there, just dancing with everything and everybody, and I don't care. But what I wanted to know from you, you talked about the kids and protecting the mental health of children. Is what advice would you give to somebody, especially a child, or I guess maybe a parent of a child that feels like they just don't belong, they don't fit in? And I know that you started Pride of Dripping Springs to kind of offer this safe space for somebody. Yeah. But what's your first conversation with somebody?
That's interesting because I had a friend reach out recently whose daughter, they feel pretty certain is gay, and of course they want to handle it right. And it's like all of us, we're all well intentioned, but we're not the expert in everything, and I'm certainly not the expert in it. And I just said, well, I do think therapy would be good. I'm not a professional. Yeah. You definitely need to get someone in there who can help them, make their own decisions and figure out, and I guess really just have perspective on how they're feeling. I think everybody should go to therapy, honestly, at least once. I think it's important.
I've been trying for Steve for 10 years.
I've been going to deal with whatever Michelle's going on over there. So,
Oh, I love it. What was the question? I'm sorry, I just went off on it.
Your first, when somebody's struggling with, their identity, who they are.
Whatever,
I think one of the things I always say is, it does get better. And the world's changing at a too slow of a rate sometimes, and it's frustrating. But I'm getting ready to be 56 years old, and there's been a lot of change in my lifetime. Now, I feels like some of it has backslid a little bit recently, but we'll get past that. And, when you're a kid, when you're a teen or whatever, no matter what age, but certainly you should remember when you're young, everything seems like it's just forever. And you get so hung up in all the angst and all the things that come with being that age that
it's hard being a teenager.
It is hard. And kids can be really mean, and social media and all that doesn't help.
Oh, kids can just be mean.
They're mean in general.
Yes,
they can
kids
be.
are
They're
turds.
Well, then they look, for the most part, they look for whatever they think is your weakness and they attack that.
Because they're hurting. And so they're trying to,
Sure.
Anyway, I just try to tell them, it does get better, and a friend of mine's kid is trans, and they're really struggling with a lot of bullying. And I said, well, here's the thing. It does get better. Don't take them on. Let them do what they're going to do. And if they don't get any, like you were saying, if they don't get any traction, they'll leave you alone. If you react, then you're giving them exactly what they want.
There's exactly
and that
what
makes
they
them
want.
the funny guy or whatever.
Right.
What is the one thing that you think the, quote, other side usually gets wrong?
About being
just
gay or
about being gay, yeah.
Oh, gosh. That we're different, that, that we, like you said, that we fit in this box where we do all these things a certain way.
That you're banana hammocks and boas
that
all
we're
the
banana
time.
hammocks and I'm wearing one right now for those of you that are not are not on video.
If we
There'll
titled
be a picture later.
If we titled it banana hammocks and boas, we would all
I think
be
we should. That would be great. The biggest watched episode ever. Did you hear that, Scott?
That's fine.
I would say that that politics is our biggest thing. And for some people, don't get me wrong, on either side it is. I have more in my life going on than that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't obsess me, and I'm not trying to leave the country right now. And I know people who are. And you know what? You got to do what you got to do, and whatever, helps you to feel safe and all of those things. So I'm not judging anybody. I think you got to do what you have to do. But that's not all of me. And, I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I'm a daughter. I'm a sibling to two very ornery sisters. I hope they don't listen to this. That I love very much.
We'll send it to them.
Right.
And Scott.
I'm an animal lover. I try to do a lot of, social work and volunteering, because not as much as I used to. And I have a lot of guilt about that, because I love to do it. But owning a small company, as you guys know, is tough.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And I have a few plates spinning right now. So, I just think that we all try to just get this preformed idea. And when you get to know someone, and that's the part you were saying where you really got to stop and talk to them, you go, oh, well, you're not at all like what I judged you to be
That was
already.
one of my questions I was going to ask you about. It's like and people do this to themselves and people do it to other people, labels. They say, that person is blah, blah, whatever it is. And then they come up with this whole narrative about what that person is.
All the assumptions they make.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
And so do you sometimes have somebody label you and you think, how do you handle that?
Just like I had this conversation with you guys,
she goes to gun practice.
right? And then I go home
Have
and
I
play.
shown you my SIG?
Yeah. Then I go home and play Sniper Ghost Warrior. And
It's Michelle Sig. I don't know what happened. I don't know where I got this from.
So, all we can do is talk and communicate. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing in our society is just talk. Like I said, there's so much more that binds us than divides us, but most people won't give it enough of an opportunity. It feels safer to just put up the walls and assume, we're also different. So, also, I think we were talking about this earlier. I started a social media page on Facebook called We Are Dripping Springs.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that, because, a few years back, I'll be honest, I think it was during the first Trump presidency, everybody was just, the haters and the bulliers were volume 10 everywhere you looked. It made me feel like, okay, I'm starting to feel alone on an island here, And at first I was like, screw it, we're just going to move. We're just going to go somewhere else. And I thought, you know what? No, screw that. There are bullies everywhere.
This is
they
my
are
town.
absolutely everywhere.
I'm
I
gonna
love this
stick
town.
up. Yeah,
absolutely. And I have pride in this town. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to do in my own small ways some things to try to help change it. And that's what I've tried to do. I don't know how successful I've been, but the Pride organization, We Are Dripping Springs. There was something else and I can't remember it, but we try to do what we can to just make people look a little more closely at others and have a conversation. And it's like it's funny. Some people avoid talking to people that I feel are not in their box. I kind of am the person that will find a way to have a conversation, and then before you know it, we're friends or we're and they'll say hi to me when they see me.
I
and
love it when somebody that has a different point of view than me is open and receptive to me being different than them.
Right.
Sometimes, and it goes both ways.
Yeah.
the other person just can't do it. I had a friend that I've known for a long time, and we would get together weekly and do stuff. And he finally just one day was like, I just can't handle you anymore. And I was like, but I really like having these conversations with you. I learn stuff all the time. So
that's unfortunate. And that's definitely, there's some people in that mode, and everybody's got to do their own thing. But
what does, Juana, what does pride mean to you?
Oh, well, the pride I just meant was just in general.
But just in general, but I know.
Not debating dynamics. We're
not
doing
debating
that.
dynamics and bows, but just in general, just pride. What does that, because it's such a big, is that me?
That's not me.
It's not me because mine's turned off, I think.
Look, that's...
It is.
That's okay.
I have my phone set to ring through with certain people, like my wife and my son. Sorry about that.
That's
I apologize.
okay.
I should have just turned it off.
That's okay.
So, I came from a small-ish town, which is now huge. But
probably some of the Bible Belt section of Texas.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, I've learned that community is everything. And it does take a village. And, you're not the person who raises your kid. Believe me, other people see them a lot more than you do. And you got to rely on those people. That's why I'm a big fan of teachers, and I do what I can for teachers, because, my God, where would we be without their hard work and dedication and their magic they bring to everything? There's so many people here that play such an important role in your life, whether you know it or not, or whether you appreciate it or not. And I think for me, it's like we were saying, kind of stepping up and talking to the people that they may think they have nothing in common with you, and I may not know that they do, but we almost always do.
But you know what? Like if you drove by a car accident, right, and you saw that somebody had an immediate need,
right,
you're not going to ask them, which way did you
could
vote?
care less,
which way did you vote before I help you? And if you do, you're a despicable person. I'm sorry.
No, that's ridiculous. Yeah, and I've actually been that person at almost being in an accident myself, trying to help people. In fact, my wife says the way I'm going to go out is I stopped in a highway one time because there was a turtle crossing the road and jumped out in traffic to grab it. And it could happen, that might be in my obituary.
That's the way
the turtle.
She stopped to help the turtle.
Yeah, Holly and I were driving down 290, and there was a turtle on the side of the road, and I had to say to her, "Do not jump out of the car." I said, "I'm going to pull over in a safe spot. Do not jump out of the car."
Oh my goodness!
I want to ask you. This will be a delicate question, and if it's too much, I'll edit
exciting.
it out.
Okay, I'm ready.
There's a lot of controversy right now about what one side says are men in women's sports, and the other side says,
Ooh, you brought up a good one.
They're just women competing in women's sports. It's a conundrum to me, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. What is your take?
Well,
on
I have the answer. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have the answer. I'm glad that's not my problem to figure out. I'll be honest, I can see the challenge there. That's not an easy thing to do. And that topic aside for a minute, I'm a big proponent of, we all like to say, oh, you're either a guy or girl or you're not, or, and all that. But those people don't really know what they're talking about. And I think, like you were saying, if you get an opportunity to have a conversation, they are learning, for example, that a lot of us, like you've heard of people who have two genders or two sexes. Two sexes specifically. A lot of times, especially in years past, they didn't know that. And this person's going, I really feel like I'm this other way, but you kind of went with this version, and that doesn't feel natural to me. And they didn't even know.
Small percentage of my older brother was trans. My older brother was 6'4".
Yeah.
And I used to say, you're the ugliest woman I have ever seen. Like, who buys this?
She's so nice.
Where do you get your shoes? That's what I want to know.
Who buys this? That you are a woman. So, that's only something that I called it my broster.
It's unfortunate, kind of like if you felt that your gender's more masculine, that's going to be hard for you. Just going to lay it out right now. So, it's to your point, I think that's a hard topic. And I don't have any easy answers because in every other area, I feel very clearly about it. And that one, it's hard because they're athletes and they want to do their thing. I'm thinking, maybe over time we come up with, they have their own organization so that it's more evenly matched or something.
That's if I had to come up, if somebody sat me down and said, you got to come up with a solution right now, that would be the one I would come up with. That won't work for everybody, honestly. But I do think that, women in women's sports deserve to, to
biological-
compete against
biolog-
people that are on the same kind of playing field. But
Yeah, I
it is,
agree.
I think that's a tough one, and I think we'll struggle with that for a long time.
I think
but
we
there
will
is
too.
no one policy that fits every situation.
There's
either,
not. I
so.
mean, even in people who were born one sex and live as that one sex or gender, then, some of them can really just blow the other out of the water
Yeah,
in
that's
sports.
true.
So you're going to have that in general, but yeah, I agree. It's a tough one. So you came up with a really good one. You
I could
actually kind of
suck
stumped me.
in both genders. Let's just say I will lose in both. Whatever I would run in.
Oh, you get the participation award.
That's right. That's right. Whenever you're ready, I have some rapid fire questions.
I've
too.
got all my
Geez.
questions answered.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
yes.
So my rapid fire, I have some. Okay.
Okay.
Who in your life has influenced you the most?
That's hard. Like a relative or just in
Just
general?
in
Anybody.
general, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Even fictitious.
I may have
Yeah.
to come back to that one.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you hope people will remember most about your work in DS?
That I'm kind and I'm open-minded and I try to help everybody.
Yeah.
I try to be the helper.
That's what we should all aspire to.
Yeah.
Look
I
for
don't
the
know how
helpers.
good of a job I'm doing, but I do try.
That's. I love the fact that you even just agreed to come on here because you didn't know what
I
if we
actually
had
had
an
somebody
agenda.
warn me about you. And I'm like, what?
I
know,
hope we
right?
I hope we proved them
You
wrong.
did. I mean,
we
of
did.
course it did. I wasn't worried. Like I said, I can get along with anybody. I can have fun in a shoebox, but
Well, the whole reason we started this show was not to make any enemies. It was for us to get to know our neighbors
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and love our neighbors, even
Yeah.
though they have different thoughts and beliefs and
Right. And I love
backgrounds.
that.
And,
I love that.
Well,
that's-
it's the
that's
same
what it's
thing.
all
It's
about.
there's like misconceptions. You hear snippets or you think you know about
Yeah.
a person, and it's like if you're sitting down with somebody and you're really talking to them.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your dream job if you weren't doing what you're doing right now? What would you want to be doing? Like raising puppies and monkeys?
I actually put a business plan together. I think it was when I was taking care of my mom and I didn't have much to do. I actually wanted to start almost like a Disneyland for dogs and have a place where they could just live their best life. And more than just kind of the things you see, like, oh, it's a daycare, or
Yeah.
it's this. But it really was a one-stop shop, but there was, going to be an outdoor restaurant where the dogs could hang out.
Oh, wow.
And they could have their own food if you wanted. And I mean, it was just, if you can imagine that times 100, it was just all the things,
That's cool.
And this was before a lot of places had opened up that kind of do parts of that. Most of them don't do all of it, but they do parts of what I had in mind. But I always wanted to try to do that because that would be, what a cool job.
Yeah.
Hard work, but what a great
There's
job.
a lot of these like pet spas,
Yeah.
animal spas.
I don't even go to the
popping up. Well, yeah, I know. Huh? That was what I thought
Right?
too. It's like I'm not going to go even pay to get a massage, let alone for my dog to get a massage.
Well, if this gig doesn't work out, I'm going to drive the doggy daycare bus.
There
That's
you-
what I
oh,
wanna
isn't that
do.
great? Do you ever watch the videos?
Oh, yes,
Oh, I love
they're
it so
great.
much.
And they call their names and
Uh-huh,
they
and they're
come
all
on.
excited.
Yeah, that's
They're
really
better
cool.
behaved than the kids on the school bus when I was a kid.
True. I mean, true. They probably less biting.
Michelle's mutts.
Michelle's mutts.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the original question. Who in your life has influenced you the most?
God, that's
Do you
hard.
feel?
I mean, so many people. I don't know how you pick one.
Name a couple.
Scott.
Scott,
One for sure.
top of the list, Scott.
He's going to live that down.
I think my parents, for different reasons, had a lot of impact on me. And I know everybody goes to the parents.
Yeah,
but
no, but that's...
that's who I think
Hey,
of.
as a parent, you're a parent. I would hope my kids would say
Right?
me one day.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's funny, I don't know if you'll ever do this, but I catch myself either talking out loud to one of them when I'm doing something that I know they're probably watching over my
Aw.
shoulder. And I'm going, okay, Dad, I know you do it like this, but here's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And especially with construction. But yeah, both of them were my heroes in different ways. And I'm very fortunate in a way that my parents were so much older than my friends' parents because I think I got kind of that old school parenting that I
That
think
wisdom,
we could,
I have.
Yeah.
Michelle hasn't earned that yet, but I have that wisdom.
Well, and I think
Because he's much older than us.
and again, this is gonna ruin people's preformed idea of me, but I'm not a big proponent of be your kid's very best friend. I just
Oh,
don't
no.
think
Me
you do
neither,
that,
yeah.
and so I tend to sound kind of old school, with parenting. It's the only thing my wife and I think ever fought about was parenting stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you gotta, Anyway,
The tough
She's
love
the fun
thing
mom
is
and I'm
real.
Dr. No.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do or say something to your kid that just kills you, but you
it
know
does.
you got to
But
say
you know
it,
you
and
have
you know
to.
you got to do it.
It's not fun being the parent. Let me
It's
tell you,
not.
if you're doing
It's
it right,
not.
it is no fun.
I used to tell my
Sometimes.
daughter when she was like, 14 and just terror.
Oh, Lord.
And she would say, well, you're a girl. And I'm like, I've been a 14-year-old girl. I've never raised one of you people before. I'm literally making this up as I go along.
And I'm guessing you're a little scared of her too.
Yeah, you must know Kendall. Yes, we are all a little afraid of Kendall.
That's true.
Yeah, boys are a little easier in that regard.
Yes, I have 2 boys too. Juana, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that you came on to our show, whether you were warned or not. Or I really appreciate the fact that you chose to sit down and spend your morning with us and find out a little bit about who we are. And we definitely could find out a little bit about who you are and why our community should support you. Where can people find you?
My company?
Yes.
Oh,
no, just in general. Are you like
yeah, where are you going to be at in 10 minutes?
Let me apologize because I'm horrible. I'm horrible about posting on social media because I'm busy, and I know it's important, but you know how it is. So I have right now like 1 million photos I haven't posted or anything, but I'm hoping to get somebody to help me with that soon. So if you're out there, look me up. But I would say that we have our Facebook page. Plum Projects is probably the best place, and it's probably the most frequently updated.
But you also have We Are Dripping Springs and the Pride of Dripping Springs. Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's prideofdrippingsprings.org.
Okay.
So if you want to help, volunteer, donate money, all the things.
Find out more about
okay. Absolutely. It's a really great organization. And like I said, I've actually put this out, I think, on Dripping Springs Neighbors once. There was a big,
hula
going on about something. And I said, hey, guys, I would love to meet with this one particular person or whatever and say, I would love to meet with you and have coffee and just talk. I said,
in the back of Taco Bell.
Did they take you up on it? Yeah. But did they take you up on it?
No, they wouldn't. And I've done it several times because honestly, I think if we met, I would love to hear their perspective. I would love to maybe explain a little bit about what we do while we're there and see if, we can't, again,
Do you feel like they were afraid of confrontation?
I don't know.
Maybe...
I can't. I don't know. What
I feel like if you're super critical of somebody, you need to at least give them the opportunity to defend themselves. Not violently, not with fisticuffs, but just to say, hey, here's why I did this.
It's keyboard warriors. You know what it is. They're mouthing off and they.
Yeah. I think 50 years from now, when we look at how we treat social media in this country, we're going to say, damn, that was a big mistake. It's like people are saying the nastiest stuff that and like Mike Tyson, you wouldn't say that right to his face, but you say it on a keyboard.
Okay, I'll take down the private Steve Facebook page that I have.
But Juana, I want to thank you for coming in, especially since maybe somebody said, hey, you got to be careful with those two, especially Michelle.
I literally had someone that I'm not that close to say, you do know that they're Republicans, right? I'm like, so?
How dare you?
What, do they have 3 eyes? What am I worried about
Kudos to you for coming into the Lion's Den, but I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed getting to meet you.
I appreciate that,
and I wish you the great success with your business.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and it's been great. I've enjoyed it. My first podcast under my belt.
All right.
Well, wonderful. And go find her at
prideofdrippingsprings.org
and plumprojects.com.
PLUMB
Yeah, there's a B.
projects.com.
Yeah, that's a carpentry reference.
Plum B Projects.
Yeah.
All right, Juana. Well, thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you. Have a good day.
Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. This thoughtfully designed 55-plus community is paired with resort-style amenities and social activities. They offer 1- and 2-bedroom homes located in Dripping Springs, the gateway to the Hill Country. Make friends, make memories, make time for you at Jovi Belterra. Live JoviBelterra.com, 737-387-6870.
From rodeo clowns, teachers or doctors, and everyone in between, Texans have one thing in common: hard work deserves smart banking. At Southstar Bank, whether you're buying your first home, building a dream ranch, or just managing daily finances, our 16 branches across Central Texas are here for you. Southstar Bank, trusted by professionals, backed by tradition, and built for Texas. SouthstarBank.com, member FDIC, an equal housing lender, NMLS 410624.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.